On August 3, 2019, a gunman entered an El Paso Walmart, killing 23 people and injuring 23 more. This act of domestic terrorism has been described as the deadliest attack on Latinos in recent U.S. history. A 23rd victim died after spending 9 months in the hospital. The gunman entered the building at 10:40 a.m. carrying a semi-automatic rifle. 61-year-old Jorge Garcia was shot while raising funds for his granddaughter's soccer team. 90-year-old Luis Suarez was killed and his wife was injured. They had been married for 70 years. 15-year-old Javier Rodriguez, a student at Horizon High School, was shot and killed. 24-year-old Jordan Anchondo was killed while holding a 2-month-old son. A manifesto titled The Inconvenient Truth was published on 8chan 20 minutes before the shooting that revealed the man's name and gun he would use. The manifesto was anti-Hispanic and anti-immigration, promoting white nationalism and far-right ideologies. It also included language similar to what was used by President Donald Trump when he spoke about immigration. The gunman was later identified as 21-year-old Patrick Crucius. Patrick lived in Allen, Texas, 650 miles from El Paso. During his interrogation, Patrick said he was targeting Mexicans. February 6, 2020, Patrick was charged with 90 federal charges.
This is my audition for True Crime TikTok because y'all need to hear about Susan Kuhnhausen. Warning, I'm going to talk really fast to get it all in, and it will involve violence. So in 2006, Susan was a 51-year-old ER nurse in Portland, and she was going through a really tough divorce at the time. But what she didn't know was that her soon-to-be ex-husband had hired a hitman to murder her. So on September 6, 2006, Susan came home from the ER, and she was ambushed by this hitman. And she not only managed to take his own weapon and use it against him, it was a hammer, but she also then subdued him by choking him. And as she was choking him, she gave him the option of calling him an ambulance only if he would tell her who hired him. But he didn't reply, so she killed him with her bare hands. And mind you, she was 5'4", and this was a professional murderer. And then she called 911 and literally pulled a real-life call an ambulance, but not for me. She was like, I don't need it, I'm fine, but he's dead. And then later on, she addressed her ex-husband in court saying, if I ever believed you deserved to be dead, I would have at least had the balls to kill you myself. Queen shit.
Hi, I'm Cam, and this case is still unsolved. Jack the Ripper was an unidentified serial killer in London that brutally killed 5 women in 1888. He would quite literally rip them apart with a knife by slitting their throats and cutting out their internal organs. The title Jack the Ripper came about when someone claiming to be the serial killer sent a letter in October of that year. The paper is often referred to as the From Hell letter, because it arrived with a half of a preserved human kidney. The author of the letter claimed that he fried and ate the other half. The most shocking and disturbing murder of them all is Jack the Ripper's last victim, Mary Jane Kelly. Mary's body had been mutilated beyond recognition. Her throat was severed down to her spine, and she had basically been turned inside out. But instead of talking about it, let me just show you. All you have to do is click the link in my bio and download the app. With the Crime Door app, you can see Mary Kelly's crime scene and many others down to the very last detail. You can open other AR doors like John Benet Ramsey, John Lennon, and the Menendez murders. This is the hotel room where Mary Kelly was found. And I want to give a huge trigger warning because it's very graphic. And it's so detailed that I think it's way too graphic for TikTok. Hi, I'm Cam, and this is 1 Minute Murder. On the evening of July 22nd, 1995, 15-year-old Elise Paylor left her home to hang out with 3 teenage boys who had promised her drugs. Later that evening, the 3, aged 14, 15, and 16, held her down, stabbed her, and had sex with her dead body. They would return to it on several other occasions, again committing acts of necrophilia. A forensic pathologist concluded she was stabbed at least 12 times. None of the individual wounds were fatal, he testified, meaning she slowly bled to death. The body was only discovered because one of the perpetrators, Horace Casey, confessed to the crime following his conversion to Christianity. In their defense, the defendants said that they needed to commit a sacrifice to the devil to give their heavy metal band Hatred the craziness to go professional. The parents of Elise filed a lawsuit against the band Slayer in 1996, claimed that the songs Postmortem and Dead Skin Mask gave the 3 killers detailed instructions to stalk, rape, torture, and commit acts of necrophilia on their daughter. The case was thrown out by the judge, stating there's not a legal position that could be taken that would make Slayer responsible for the girl's death. One of the killers, Jacob Delashmutt, stated that the music is destructive, but that's not why Elise was murdered. She was murdered because Joe was obsessed with her and obsessed with killing her. Trio pleaded no contest and were sentenced to 26 years to life in prison.
If you think your mother-in-law is bad, listen up because this one takes the cake. First of all, Elizabeth, who's known as Ma, had been married, they think 20 times. I don't know, maybe after time 10, that's like a red flag. Well, in 57, she moves in with her most favorite son, Frank. Now, she's a master manipulator, so when he tries to move out, she actually takes an overdose of sleeping pills to get him to stay. But to her probably shock and horror, he ends up falling in love with her nurse. So they end up getting married, but instead of moving in with his wife, he keeps living with his mom and visits his wife at her apartment. Ma keeps trying to break them up, and she goes so far as to actually hire a guy to pretend to be her son and goes to the court to get the marriage annulled. When that doesn't work, she hires 2 guys to kill his wife, and he actually defends her as her lawyer. Didn't work. She was found guilty.
This is the Opelika Jane Doe. On January 28, 2012, her skeletal remains were found in a trailer park in Opelika. She was estimated to be between 3 and 7 years old at the time of her death, and she had appeared to be dead for 8 months to 2 years. A tip came through saying that the Jane Doe could have been this young girl who was at a Christian Bible camp. These pictures were taken in 2011. She appeared to have a deformity in her left eye, which you think would make her stand out a little bit, but nobody knows who this girl was. Out of all the people at this vacation Bible camp, nobody could identify this little girl. Investigators do believe that this is their Jane Doe. This case keeps getting pushed to the back every time a new case comes forward, and they're still trying to identify who this young girl is. So if anybody knows anything, please call the number on the screen.
Hi, I'm Cam, and this is 1 Minute Murder. Thanksgiving weekend in 2016, a Knoxville, Tennessee man murdered his parents for $500,000 of life insurance benefits. Joel Guy Jr. stabbed Lisa and Michael Guy Sr. a total of 71 times. When Joel's parents finally decided to cut him off in light of their upcoming retirement, Joel snapped and plotted every detail of their gruesome murder in his notebook. The chilling details of his notebook included how he planned to chop up his parents, flush chunks down the toilet, and even melt their fingerprints. Also, I'm about to go into more detail about this gruesome murder, so if you're not mentally prepared, then swipe away. Tupperware containing body parts are found strewn about the whole house. He even separated his parents' limbs from their torsos and snapped Lisa's skull from the topmost vertebrae in her spine. This is Joel's car, in which police found a meat grinder and a gasoline can. This is the crime scene photo from the pot Detective Jeremy McCord found on Lisa's head. It was boiling on the stove while other parts were being soaked in acid. Joel Guy Jr. was found guilty of 2 counts of premeditated first-degree murder, 3 counts of felony murder, and 2 counts of abuse of a corpse. This guy's fucking scary, look.
So this is her right here, right? Her name is Yuka Takaoka, and so, yes, she does have a TikTok account on here, basically, and last time she posted was 2019. I'm gonna leave this picture up because the other pictures are very graphic. If you want to look at them, go Google them. So what happened was she basically stalked this guy she liked, cut him open, and nearly killed him. Yes, he lived. This happened in July, summer of 2019, and she got off scot-free because she was cute. And yes, people do worship her, and I don't understand the reason why. And there's fan art like this that you can find by Googling her name. And it's very disturbing. Her videos are still up on her TikTok channel that you can go and see. I tagged her TikTok account in my last video. Like for part 2.
Hi, you've made it to True Crime TikTok. You can keep scrolling, or you can stay and listen to the story of a serial killer known as Peter Tobin, who is also suspected of being another killer named Bible John. This video contains graphic content, sexual assault, and murder. Peter Tobin was a problem child from a young age. He was in special schools for bad children. Before he was even 20, he got his first charges for forgery and burglary. On August 4th, 1993, Peter Tobin attacked 2 14-year-old girls after they came to visit a neighbor who wasn't home. He tied the girls up, sexually assaulted them, then stabbed one in front of the other, and then left the gas on to let these girls die in front of his own son. Then, the girls survived, but Tobin eluded the police. By moving, changing his name, and joining a Jesus fellowship, he was finally discovered, and then he was arrested. He served 10 years, and then he was released and joined another church under a fake name. He was again charged, but this time it was for not registering as a sex offender. He was released after 30 months, and he returned and he met a young woman named Angelica. On September 4th, Angelica went missing after being last seen.
This is the LaBianca murder house in Los Feliz, Los Angeles, where Leno and Rosemary LaBianca were murdered by members of the Manson family on August 10th, 1969. For more murder houses, click the link in the account bio.
I don't know how we got here, but it's been 4 years since Abby and Libby were murdered in Delphi, Indiana. They had a day off school, they went on a hike, and they crossed someone on a bridge who brutally took these young girls' lives. Before Libby was murdered, she actually took a video of this guy walking. You can hear him on the video saying, "Guys, down the hill." This is on the Indiana State Police's website, and because of this, they know what their killer looks like. This is their guy. We know what he looks like. He is young. He is probably familiar with the area. Show this to everyone you know. We have his face. We just don't have his name. We need everyone's help because it has been 4 years. I want this to be the last year. There is no reason in the world when we have this much information that it should go 5 years unsolved.
Last Meal Monday, where every Monday I tell you what a killer on death row ate as their final meal. This week, we're going to talk about Ted Bundy. This right here is Ted Bundy, but most of y'all already know who this is and what he did. So I'm just going to sum this up really fast and really quick. Between 1974 and 1978, Ted here would kill over 30 young women. He was very charismatic and good looking, and he would use that to his advantage. So he would pretend to be hurt or pretend to be disabled, and he would lure young women off a beaten path where then he would rape and then either strangle or beat them to death. He would eventually be caught and arrested due to a tip called in by his own girlfriend, and then he would go on to try to defend himself in court. Watch any documentary on this guy, he's nuts. Ted Bundy actually declined to make a special request for his final meal, so he was just served steak medium rare.